the gamer. So what do we know about some research? Well, John Beck and Mitchell Wade wrote a very interesting book called Got Game, very research-based. They did survey of 2,000 people, and they found out that gamers are problem solvers, which kind of makes sense. If you play a video game, if you can't solve a problem, you don't get past level 1. You're done. So they do like to confront and deal with problems. They're also a little confident. Some people might say cocky. They like to email the president of the company instead of their immediate boss. They like to show you what they know about technology. They're asking for promotions the second or third day of work. So they're a little overconfident, but all that technology and techno-savvy has given that level of confidence, especially when you're a boomer, somebody working with them, and not as familiar with the technology. They're resilient, you know, kind of the fail forward fast. You play a game, you fail, you go back and you try it again. They like to learn through trial and error. Social, they're much more social than we give them credit. So we say, well, how come they don't like to come visit us and see face to face, but they socialize over the web? So let me give you an example. My wife one day, my son, Saturday morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, still playing on the computer. My wife comes down, she's livid. Nathan, get up off that seat, go outside and play with your neighbor, John. You haven't played with them all morning. He said, Mom, I've been playing with them all morning. They were playing a game online together since 8 o'clock in the morning. So we would say, well, he's being antisocial, but in fact, he wasn't just playing with John, he was playing with John and 6 of his other friends all online. So they are social, but not in the way that we think of socialization. They're very multitasking, or at least they think they're multitasking. And they're very informal learners. Here's a really interesting, this was done by the Forrester Research and printed in Business Week that shows trends. I just want to look at a couple of these trends. But notice here, young teens, youth, and Generation Y here, and then Generation X and boomers here. We have different creators. If you create information on the web, critic, if you comment, collectors, if you use RSS feeds, joiners, if you join a social network, spectators, if you just kind of watch what's going on, and inactives if you do nothing. It's very interesting if we look at here the creators, and here are the joiners, and look at age about 40. Look at the dramatic cutoff of what people are doing on the web. So the younger you go, the more likely you are to comment on a blog, to create a wiki, to join a social network, and to be involved in the Web 2.0 technologies. The older you are, you tend not to do that. Now, that makes sense because we haven't grown up with it. It wasn't part of our ethos. But imagine what that's doing to kids who can literally now share information, knowledge and data with people all over the world. And they can be a consumer of content and a producer of content all at the same time. So now our role model of having a sage on the stage speaking who knows everything and gives you that content is starting to change in terms of creating of content. Now, I'm not judging whether or not that's good or bad. What I'm saying is we're going to have to adjust to that as educators and figure out how to get them involved. Because if they're wired all day, if they're wired before school and wired after school, but we bring them into class and we unwire them, that's not going to work. There's a movement afoot in some schools to ban iPods because students are using them to cheat. Like one guy was downloading some information to cheat. And I thought back and I thought, wow, I'm glad in my day they didn't like ban tennis shoes. Because some of the kids, not me, would write on their tennis shoes answers to the test questions. They didn't ban tennis shoes. They were just a little more diligent about how they were checking that. They were saying there was one child who went and downloaded Schoolhouse Rocks, put it on his iPod, and used it to cheat on a grammar test. I said, that's the kid I want to hire. I mean, that was a brilliant move that he could figure out how to do that. Now, so we need to be vigilant about it. We need to use their content. Now, I'm not saying we should allow iPods for cheating. I don't think we'd want to do that, but we really need to think about how we're going to integrate this technology. And banning the technology is not the answer to integration. Okay, so now we have this digital divide. So you can kind of pick out the term that you call yourself or that you call others. But basically, you have what Mark Prensky calls digital immigrants, which means you didn't grow up with technology. Now, I'm talking to an exceptional group here of people that work with technology every day. But if you think about it, whenever you go to a foreign country and you immigrate, you're always still going to have an accent. You're always still going to have to think through the process. We've lived through losing our entire DOS machine, right? Many times, right. Right. We've wiped out tons of our own data all the time. But the Gamer 3 and 4, if you're keeping on the web, you're not losing your data. They don't have the traumatic experience that we have with technology. We have a little bit of a buffer there. So the digital immigrants are on one side, the digital natives are on another side, and we have to figure out how to bridge that gap. So here's the Gamer 1.0. If you grew up in the 60s or 70s, you probably played Pong, and you had to make some decisions about Pong. Because a lot of people don't say, well, you know, what's changing kids with these video games? I mean, what's different? So if we grew up playing Pong, we had questions like, where's my opponent going to move his little white rectangle next? What direction should I try to move the ball? How's the ball going to bounce? I mean, those are the kind of thoughts that we were thinking about as playing Pong. So not real universal great thinking, just trying to figure out how to win the game. Then we have Space Invaders. Actually, I created these in PowerPoint. So we had certain questions that we asked when we played Space Invaders, like, should I shoot the aliens in the middle or at the end first? I mean, I got to figure out which would be best as a strategy. How long do I have to shoot before the aliens shoot me? And what's the pattern that these aliens are following? Because eventually you can figure out a pattern. As a matter of fact, people that played Pac-Man, born in the 1980s, Pac-Man was, some people were so good that they knew the pattern they could play with their eyes closed. Because it was a pattern, you just had to follow that pattern. Like, I never figured that out. And as a matter of fact, in the year 2005, when Pac-Man turned 25, it just earned $100 million. Halo 2, the first day it was released, earned $100 million. This is the game Myst, and you walk through Myst and you explore kind of what's going on. Where do I explore first? What activities are the most value? What do I do to achieve my goal? You can see how now the thinking is a little bit different. I'm not looking for patterns anymore. Now I'm to think through problem-solving processes and what I'm going to do with that. Here, the Gamer 4.0 playing a game called Second Life. Has anybody played Second Life or done? A couple of people have. I know there's some presentations. But basically, this is myself, my avatar, my virtual representation of me, and one of my students, Atticus Bollinger, and we're having a discussion about what to build. You ask, what activities give me the most return for my efforts? Can I trust this person who wants to help me to accomplish my goals? Think of the thought processes that are going on as opposed to Pong, where I'm thinking, where's he going to hit the ball? You can co-create, and you can create your own content, your own experience, and work in your own environment. What can we create together? Here, remember I said your definition of the boss? Here's a gamer's definition of the boss. The creature at the end of the level that you have to kill. This is Ragnaros from World of Warcraft. It takes 40 people working together, all with different skill sets, to kill the god of fire. You cannot do it with less than 40 people. And so you have warriors who are battling Ragnaros, and then you get burnt, and then you have healers who heal you as a warrior. So you have to have a clean, you have to work together in order to accomplish this goal. So this is what boss. So it's not good for us to be bosses, it's better for us to be like a content guide or cheat codes where we can give direction but not dictate what needs to happen. So we look at video games, and I always just like this poster. But so what can video games teach us if we think about rules that are